Lovecraft Country, Episode 5, A Strange Case. Welcome, international movie friends. Thank you for watching again. We are back with a Lovecraft Country trilogy, as we always do. Recap, breakdown, review. We're going to do that today again. We're going to start now with the recap. First reaction about this episode, guys. Sven?
Phenomenal.
Wow, that's not two little words you got there. Koen?
Pleasantly strange.
Pleasantly strange. Okay, I also liked it. Let's keep it at that.
I also liked it.
I'm really curious now where your concern is.
Yes, but that's for some later moment. Maybe we can already dig in a little bit at the end of this recap. But here we are, small faces at the left. We're going to now dig into this episode, Lovecraft Country, Episode 5, Strange Case. We're going to go through the story that we've been through. So here we go. We started, of course, this episode with this shot. It was a great way to get into this episode. So we see in the beginning of the episode, we see Ruby waking up in her home, but she's not like exactly herself. Instead, she has taken on the form of a white woman, to be specific, Dell, who we saw in the first episode as the woman that guarded the tower.
You said already wrong. We don't, at this point, you don't know it's Ruby.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But you might assume maybe a bit from.
Really?
Well, I have to be honest. I have to be honest with you guys. I follow a lot of Lovecraft Country stuff on Twitter, of course, also for the show, to keep a good eye on it. And somewhere I already saw popping up, wow, that transformation of Ruby, really freaky. So I knew something she was going to transform. So I think in my head, I was already right away like, that's the transformation we're talking about. Then she tries to figure out what's going on. She gets onto the streets where she starts experiencing the advantages, more or less, of being a white person. When she walks into this black boy, and cops come to the rescue and offer to take her home. In the back of the car, Ruby starts to transform again, change back, as we can see. It's really creepy what we hear. We hear the bones that are cracking and those kind of things. Quite creepy.
She looks at the fingers and
we see the color of her eyes changing.
Yeah.
It's just very much, okay, what's going on here? Then back home, William puts her on a plastic mat, which was quite creepy. It reminded me a bit of American Psycho.
I just wanted to say that with Christian Bale. Yeah, exactly.
Especially here, this shot.
Yes.
Yeah. With the gloves also.
Exactly. And also the neatly dressed. So he puts her on the plastic mat. He seems to cut her out of her skin, so to say.
But you don't see till the next scene. You don't see what actually happened, because he puts a knife in there, and then you see him pulling shit out, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. So he tells her that the transformation is performed by magic, and that she can keep making use of it as long as she will repay him by doing a favor at the right time. That's what she tells him later in the episode. So in the beginning, she's a bit cautious about this magic, but later on she starts to slowly enjoy the advantages of her new appearance, getting things for free, like ice cream, and she can just read a newspaper in the park without being disturbed. And then she even gets hired as an assistant manager at Marshall Fields. You see, with this guy, the manager that offers her the job. So she has this job interview. Just before she transforms back into her normal self, she is able to get away into an elevator, which takes her away from the warehouse. Then we see Ruby that she goes with her colleagues to a black bar and witnesses how her manager tries to assault Tamara.
Big jump.
Big jump. I'm taking it per character, this breakdown.
Okay.
So we see how she sees how her manager assaults Tamara. And later on, we see here that she has to work in the
favor she had to do for him, yeah.
The favor she has to do for William, indeed. That she has to work in the Chicago Lodge, where we see Lancaster, of course. She has to put something there for Christina, or for William, Christina. That's still unknown at this point. Spoiler for later on. They are about to run into the room when she hides into the closet and finds half-dead men in there. Here we see the guy. What's also some creepy things we will dive into the breakdown.
What is he wearing, by the way, guys?
Well, what he's wearing, I don't know, but what his chest looks like. He is half black, half white. But that's something.
But he's not wearing anything. He's half black, yeah.
He's half black.
I haven't seen it in the first.
He's stitched up or something. So he's also going through some kind of transformation, as it seems. But that's something we will discuss further in the breakdown. But it was quite creepy. Yeah. Well, then we see the end of more or less the end of Ruby's story in this episode is that she walks into her manager.
This was a very Inglourious Basterds kind of revenge.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very disturbing scene.
But it was nice.
I felt almost a little bit sorry for him. Of course, he deserved the punishment.
Yeah.
Oh, but now we go into reviews. But
it's okay. We can do it. But
it was she kept on going. My God.
She didn't stop exactly.
It was brutal.
You think of the pointy heel. Oh, yeah.
Oh. But so that's what happens, and we can see a little bit here what's happening. She mutilates him with her stiletto shoe, and then in the end we see how she comes back into the house, and she runs into William. There seems to be something going on with William, and then we see that William starts transforming into. There she is, Christina.
Yes.
So that's
what we predicted.
Exactly. Well, we have to give credit where credit goes, and that's that we already found it online. Someone talking about it, so we can't claim the fame for that. But
no.
Yes, it was. We did talk about it at least. Then we go into Letty and Tick's story arc, which is a bit shorter in this episode. The emphasis is much more on Ruby and on Montrose. But in this episode, we mostly see that Letty and Tick try to decode what they see on the photos, because of course we saw in the beginning of the episode that Tick gets into a fight with his father. He almost half kills him, more or less.
Yeah, he beat him on the head, and he almost died because he was taken away by some other guys and by Letty. Letty was also really scared about his situation. Yeah,
he had some rage, anger issues there, which we will dig into later. But we see that, and then we see later in this episode, it turns out that Letty did have some photos of the pages that Montrose destroyed. And from those photos, they start trying to decode in this episode the figures that they see. So at the end of the episode, they managed. It turns out that the ring that Tick was wearing as the symbols for his name, it turns out that this one, where we also see the symbol that was on the stone, says protector. So they also figured that one out. And then at the very end, Tick figures something out, 3 other letters or symbols that spell the word die. And when he figures this out, he goes to the phone, calls Jiha. Supposedly Jiha, I would say, because it's an international number he calls, so we don't know for sure, but you might assume, since he also said in this episode to Letty that he has been in a relationship with her indeed. So he calls her, and he apparently Jiha already knew about this, warned him about this, and he asks her, "What are you?" So that's more or less the story arc for Tick and Letty. Anything to add to this story arc, guys?
No, it was a bit abrupt, but
abrupt in the way that
or abrupt. It was a bit like it wasn't so clear for me. Like if you see the whole episode was about, we'll talk about it in the review, but it was about Ruby. So I missed a bit all the links here with their story where it would fit in.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even realize immediately it was her, for instance, on the phone.
No, exactly.
So thinking like, who is this on the phone now he's talking to? But
I only got it by because it was such a long number. So I thought it's
of course,
must be an international number.
Yeah.
Here we go into Montrose story arc. Montrose story arc that starts at the beginning of the episode when we see him sitting at home when Tick, as we said, figures out that Montrose did something to what was her name, the woman? I forgot it.
Yeah, special name.
Gimasha, something like that.
Jihala, I think, or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he figures that out. He has some anger issues, throws himself at Montrose. Well, it's only 2 guys and Laddie that can make that he stops. So that's where it starts for Montrose. Next, we see Montrose going to an apartment, and this is the apartment of Sammy, which we already talked about, of course, in the last episode, how it was hinted at his sexual preference, and which was actually, of course, already what we also talked about already in the very first episode. We already said, like, why was that scene there with Sammy? Yeah. Behind the bar getting a blowjob, if that has no importance. It was too random again to just be in there for the sake of it. So we already knew, like, okay, that's gotta be somehow important to the story, his sexual preference. Yeah, and here turns out why. Because Montrose is in a sort of a romantic relationship with Sammy. So here we can see that the love they make is not very romantic. They also don't kiss, which is an important connecting point for what we see later in this episode.
I think it has to do that he was just beaten up by his son, and he was...
It's very emotional. It was very...
it was very beaten up by his son, but I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that he doesn't want to give in, because that's what I can see.
Yeah.
But at the end, because here we go into the episode, or the scene where they are in this, what is it, a drag queen bar, so to say. Here's Sammy. We could find out that Sammy is in his is a drag queen. Also, other drag queens are here. We see Montrose a bit standing to the side, shy, not knowing what to do with it. Then we get into the actual bar, and we see that Sammy gets a second prize or something for best drag queen, something like that. But still, we see Montrose standing to the side, keeping himself apart a bit from the whole happening. But then it was quite great, I think. At some point, he starts getting loose, freeing himself.
Frees himself,
Exactly, giving in to his feelings and making his transformation, which was, of course, a theme in this episode. He gets lifted into the air. And we see later on that glitter falls over him, and we see him share a kiss with Sammy. So here we see that he does. So I think that's what I meant with the before, that we don't see them kissing. I think now he gives in. Now he dares to also be romantic with Sammy and be who he is, so to say.
Yeah, beautiful scene. Also recorded in slow motion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very, very nice and impressive. So that sums up the key points of this episode, I think. Of course, there was a lot more in it, but I think these was the key points, unless you guys think like, okay, you missed something that was very important here.
Oh, what I do miss, but it's not something you missed. Hippolyta was not in.
Yeah, exactly. But that's of course not in the. That's not something we can recap because she was not there. But that's is something.
Because we expected to see more of that scene that she was turning the car, driving to Devon Country.
Yeah. And that's also something that will be part of my review. Why maybe was a bit in the beginning of this video. But that's something for later. Cliffhanger.
Hey.
Okay, guys. So if we recap it now, still very enthusiastic about this episode, Sven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think it's really interesting episode, and I can't wait to do the breakdown to talk more about it.
Yeah. Well, let's end this recap now then we're going to move into the breakdown. For the people watching and that don't know us yet, we do each week, we make episode reviews, breakdowns, and recaps for Lovecraft Country. So if you want to stay updated on Lovecraft Country, don't forget to subscribe. And let us know if we missed something here that was very important for the story. Of course, we're going to do also a full breakdown later on. But discuss with us on the episode. We would like to talk with you guys about this series in the comments. Guys, see you at the breakdown. And this was it for now.